Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be going over everything that's sold at my last market. If you can hear my kids yelling in the other room, ignore it. I do. Just kidding. Zach's home, so he's got them out there. But they are being like exceptionally loud right now for no reason. So for this market, I'm going to do the first day of it and tell you the total, and then the second day of it and tell you the total, and then tell you like the total for the whole weekend. I thought about just grouping it together and just telling you everything at once. So next time, if you think I should do it that way, just let me know. But for now, we're just going to treat it as two separate days, even though it was like the same event. So this event was the spring festival at Cedar Lakes Woods and Gardens in Williston, Florida, or something like that. It's about an hour and a half away from my house. They do this event every year. Rebecca, the co-host of our podcast, does it like every year. This is like her fourth year in a row, I believe, or it might have been her fifth year. I don't recall. But a number of years, and she's been trying for the like whole 3 years I've been in business now to get me to do it, and I finally said yes because I had not done any markets this year, so I had enough time for the most part to prepare. So we are going to go over everything that's sold on day one, and then like I said, I'll tell you the total. And I guess before we do that, I'm going to insert a clip here of my booth like after setup on day one. And then, yeah, so here's that clip. I'm still too close, so it's putting my shadow in it.
I know, mine did too.
I don't love that. Oh, hello. Sorry. Okay, now we're back. So these are in alphabetical order, probably. I don't know. They're not in the order they sold either way, so I'm just letting you know that in case you guys like wonder. We'll get my non-crochet stuff out of the way. I sold $32 in gibbets and stickers. And now for actual crochet stuff. Janessa crocheted a squid and we priced it at 20 bucks and it sold, so I do owe her 20 bucks for that. And then I sold an axolotl for $13. Oh, if you want to see any of these plushies, what they actually look like, you know, other than in this video clip that you just seen, the video before this one was like everything that I was bringing to the market, so you could see these plushies. Yeah, so axolotl, $13. I sold one mini plush octo for $8. I sold 3 of the possums I do for $13 each, so it totaled $39 for the possums. That's Crochet by Jenna. I sold 2 mini turtles for $16 each. Both of the otters that I brought sold for $13 each. I sold 2 pot mushrooms for $12 each. I lowered the price from $13 on those to $12, and I like that price point for them. I'm just a little faster at making them, so I figured, you know, might as well. I sold 2 rats that I made for $18 each, so that totaled $36 there for that. I sold one of the, I call them Whimsy Monsters. I don't remember if that's the pattern name, but I do believe it's by Raven and Jade, but also don't quote me on that. But also they kind of became the like mascot of my channel. It used to be the like little flower sprite thing from Cable and Canvas, but I changed it to the Whimsy Monsters. So my profile picture on Facebook, I'm holding at least one of them. The picture of one of them's like on my business card, like with my face, you know. But I sold one of those for $55. They're a larger plushie, like a foot tall. I sold 1 mini octo in worsted weight yarn for $5 and 1 scrunchie for $5. So that totaled 49 items sold and a total of $295 for the first day. That market was on May 3rd, by the way, and now we're going to the second day. The second day I was actually nervous about because it had been forecasted to rain overnight. And the last time that happened, where I left my stuff overnight and it rained, which it wasn't even in the forecast, but it definitely rained. was the Floral City Strawberry Festival, and there's a video up on my channel about that. And like thousands of dollars in stock got damaged because I left my stuff overnight in my tent, obviously zipped up, but I left the plushies on the grid walls and just kind of brought the grid walls to the center, and we didn't know there was going to be bad weather, but it seriously looked like a tornado like ripped through the like park we were in, because we got there the next day. There were like whole tents flipped over, mangled, puddles of like water that like were like looked like lakes, not just like, you know, some wet grass, but like it literally, people's like half their table were like underwater. So it was like crazy. And I didn't end up doing the second day of that event because like so much damaged. But that's how we learned real well that Bernat Blanket and Parfait Chunky are both like washing machine washable, because I definitely had to wash them multiple times. And I've sold almost everything that I had from that event. There's still like 2 or 3 pieces from way back then hanging around, but I've made and sold thousands of dollars since then. So I can attest to the fact that the yarn stands up quite well. But because it was actually forecasted to rain overnight, we took all the plushies, put them in a tote, took the tote home with us, literally took all the baskets off the grid walls. Zach laid the grid walls kind of down at an angle against my chairs that we left, but we like, he had them like all bungee corded together so they weren't like gonna tip or go anywhere, and then like lowered the tent down a little bit, and everything held up real well. Though the people who live up there, because like I said, it's far from me, an hour and a half, the people who like heard the storm said the rain was definitely really hard, but the wind wasn't that bad. So I think obviously wind can play a significant role in how bad a storm can be on, you know, your tent and your merchandise. So we did get lucky. But the next day, on Saturday or Sunday when we were there, I had looked at the weather at like 5:30 in the morning while I was getting ready. No weather in the no rain in the forecast. Then we get there and it's pushing probably like 9 or so at this point. This woman walks through, asked if we like knew what was going to go on with the weather, because she said she talked to another vendor who showed her weather app, and it was like rain from like 11 to like 2, you know, like right middle of the day. And this is Sunday, so that's like prime after church time, and there's a church like 5 minutes up the road, so we're all kind of counting on that church traffic. And obviously if you're getting out of church and it's raining, you're probably not going to go to, you know, this outdoor spring festival at like an outdoor like woods and gardens situation. Like it's just not gonna be what you do. So she had really bad weather in hers. I had kind of mediocre weather starting a little later than the like 11 o'clock forecast. My friend Rebecca, who's from the same area that the event was in, had some, but hers was a little bit more mild than like the other lady's weather prediction, and, you know, at a different time. So like everybody's app said like something different, and which was weird, but it did not thankfully end up raining, and the turnout was good. And because it was kind of a slower morning because of the rain previously, and probably, you know, other people checking their app and being like, is it gonna rain, is it not gonna rain, or already at church, some vendors were walking around, and like right out the gate I had like a $60 like order come in from like other vendors. So like I figured it was gonna be like end up being an okay day if like that's like how it went, you know, people were gonna shop amongst themselves that were vendors. And I do tend to have like larger purchases from vendors than I do from customers, if that's something that happens, because like I don't know, maybe they might A, have the money because they're in business themselves and they were there the day before, and B, I think they like understand the work that can go into a business, so they're like a little more comfortable spending more like right off rip. But yeah, it did not end up raining, so it's good. It worked out and it was a good day. And now spiel over. We'll show you the setup I had going on, because I changed it a little bit from the first day just based on what sold, and I'll insert that clip here. And now we're back. We'll get the non-crochet stuff out of the way again. I sold $21 worth of gibbets and stickers, and now into the crochet stuff. I sold the other axolotl that I brought, and it sold for $13. I sold a baby Yoda that I made for $16. I sold one of the bats that I made from a crochet growth pattern that I used like the sparkly yarn for on the wings for $30. That girl came in and she's like, I just got this bat tattoo. I love bats and I've seen this and it's cute and I have to have it. So she was quite lovely. Yes. I sold one of my friendly Red Fox is the pattern designer, one of her chickens for $45. I sold the dinosaur I made using an All From Jade pattern for $45, and I sold 2 Mabel chickens for $13 each. I had originally had those priced at $15, like I've been doing $15 on them for a while, but I lowered the price down to $13 because, like I said, you know, faster to make. I think in the everything I crocheted for my market video, I said $12 for those, but I ended up adjusting the price just because of the size to $13. Because the pot mushrooms came out to be $12, but the chickens are a little bigger, so I figured $13. So I don't know. I price definitely still accounting for time and materials. Like I'm not losing money on anything anymore, but I'm still kind of taking size into consideration. And since the Mabel chicken is a little bigger, you know, I just gave myself a slightly bigger profit margin because that's what I felt like doing. I sold 5 plush mini octos for $8 each, so that totaled $40 on those. The last 2 of the mini possums, the Crochet by Jenna possums that I brought, sold for $13 each. So I brought 5 altogether for the weekend and sold all 5. They are still definitely a big hit. Turtles last year, for whatever reason, I couldn't really get to move, but all 3 turtles that I brought sold over the weekend. The first day 2 of them sold, and then Sunday 1 of them sold for $16, and that was the last one. I had 1 Crochet by Jenna owl there. That sold for $20. 1 pig by Meg Mixed Crochet that sold for $15. I had 1 Pokeball. It sold for $15. I sold 4 pot mushrooms for $13 each. No, $12. How much am I doing those for? 46 divided by 4. Oh, okay, that's weird. For the pot mushrooms, I did have a girl come in. She only had a 20, but she wanted 2 $10 or $12 items. So she asked me if I could like do a deal where she got, you know, both of them for the 20 since she was buying 2 things. So I gave her a pot mushroom for 10 and I think a Mabel chicken or something for 10 when they were both $12. That's why the pot mushroom says 4, but it came out to like $46, I do believe, is why that's weird like that. Something like that. But either way, 4 more pot mushrooms. I sold a strawberry pot for $13. Oh, that's what it was. It was a rubber duck and a pot mushroom. The rubber ducks are $12, but she had, like I said, only a 20. So, and it was like a child, you know. You guys know, there's always something I end up like discounting or giving away at these events. So yeah, she got a rubber duck for 10. That's what it was. Sorry, I did not mean to make that confusing. My brain does not work. I think the sun fried it out a little bit. I sold a toy car for $13. 2 regular yarn, worsted weight yarn, mini octos for $5 each, and then 1 more scrunchie for $5. So coincidentally, I sold the same number of items again, 49, but it totaled $425 for the second day, for a grand total of, let's figure that out, grand total of 98 items sold for $720 altogether. 20 of those dollars are Janessa's, so I basically made a flat $700, which I then spent today because I paid the mortgage. So yeah, gotta love bills. But it was a good event. I was hoping for $600 to $700 for the weekend, so I'm pretty pleased that I ended up there. That wasn't like a goal, just like, you know, a hope. I had really not a lot of expectations for it just because I'd never done the event. So, you know, I'm glad I like reached where I wanted to reach with though, because like I know the time I put in, and the first day was 9:30 to 5 and the second day was 9:30 to 4, so that many hours, you know, $600 to $700 felt like it was an okay turnout for that amount of time, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pleased that I did hit that. And I think it was good to, like, you know, have a successful event right out the gate this year, even though it's May. But it is right out the gate for me because this is my first event of the year. And I had Zach do my events toward the end of last year just because of, like, transitional period we were in. And for, like, the first time ever, there were events where we were only making, like, $25-50 for the full event. I don't know, not that I'm blaming him, but I don't know what the difference is. I partially chalk it up to being, like, right during election time, and that can affect sales, but also maybe just his vibe. And he's, like, a large person, you know, 6'4", so maybe he's, like, less approachable or something. I don't know. I don't blame him, but I do wonder what the, like, ultimate difference is, because, you know, there's a big difference between, like, not breaking $100 and, like, a $700 weekend, you know? And I've personally never had an event where I didn't make, like, less than $100 for the event. So, like, I don't know, it's just interesting. But I'm glad that this went good, because I was nervous about events just based on how the end of the year went, when that's supposed to be, like, the best time of year. But yeah, I will now insert the clip of everything I had left over after this event that I'll be bringing with me to my next event, which is to be determined, because I don't know. I do have a message actually waiting from Rebecca right now, letting me know some events that she's either already booked for or considering. And I did this event with her, so, you know, that was nice. And our booths were side by side, because sometimes I get into the same event as her, but she got in earlier than me, so, like, we're not side by side. So it was nice. That would have been, like, the only saving grace if I didn't make good money at this event, was to, like, at least get to spend the weekend, like, chatting it up with my friend. But thankfully, we both actually had a good weekend. She was pushing, like, close to $1,000, either right there at, like, 900 or, like, right there at 1,000. I don't remember, for the weekend. So it was real nice to have us both have a successful weekend. But yeah, that clip is right here.
I hope you had success.
We're back, and that's gonna be all for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.